Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I have my top war offense teams for November 2021. Now I know you're thinking, wait, Philosopher, learn to count, man. It is December, not November. But I'll just tell you, November I had a lot of stuff going on. I got married, had my honeymoon. I was racing Dark Dimension 5. Only came in third this time, is what it is. I did my best, though. And then I also was sick, so I just had a lot going on, so I did not get this video out. So I'm like, hey, November just ended. Let me kind of go through my teams for November, talk to you guys about what I am seeing in the meta. And I usually do this. My meta looks are almost a little backward looking. So, I'm in one of those very large alliances. I'm a war captain in this large alliance here. And Panther Hulk, and so I'm usually what I see it comes before what you're seeing elsewhere. In other words, at this level, the alliances have all of the teams built up, and they are all pretty big. So it gives you a peek, I think, into what the meta is going to look like for you, depending on what level of war you're in maybe in 3 months, in 2 months, and 1 month. It depends on where you're at in war. Now, I know a lot of people tell me, well, hey, Philosopher, in Platinum 2, the meta is very different, or in Platinum 1 or Gold 4. And I understand that. And I just can't talk to you about what the meta looks like in those situations, because I don't participate in war there. So I'm just going to talk to you about what I know. And what I know is what the meta looks like if you have everything built up. And so if you have everything built up, Weapon X is the best team. Now, obviously, if you have, a massive X-Men and your Weapon X is in blue gear, your Weapon X isn't going to be as good. But looking at all things equal, so if you're at a level where I'm at, where everybody's got everything built up, Weapon X totally transforms war. It's in its own tier. And the reason it's in its own tier is because it easily beats Heroes for Hire. I know some people struggle with it. I don't know why. It seems like a trivial battle to me. You can punch up huge. I'm sure some of you have seen videos where people are punching up 500K, 600K. I mean, it's an insanely good against Heroes for Hire. And if you don't have Weapon X, a full team, and use it against Heroes for Hire is a real pain, and it actually can be very difficult, right? If before we had Weapon X, we were all using Infinity Watch, and that was a very dicey matchup at times. There's a matchup you could even lose, at a reasonable clip. But you certainly couldn't, punch up super big there. So Weapon X is a game changer there. It also beats basically everything else, or almost everything else. Now, one thing I'm going to say, one character I don't have on this list is Dormammu. I did unlock Dormammu in November, but I still have a baby Dormammu, 5 yellow, 2 red stars, and all the rest of my characters are much larger. Okay, so if you look at my roster, the one character that's not at 7 stars that sticks out right now is Dormammu. And there's only like 2 other people in the world. I'm the third person to get him. There's only 2 other people in the world who even have Dormammu. Right now, I have not established how good he is in war offense or where you'd use him. I haven't even established the best war defense team for him. We're testing some stuff out. So, he's wouldn't be on here yet, but I will just tell you, I did throw him on offense for a war too, and he was great. I just wanted to test him out and have fun with him, and I threw him in with, I don't remember, X Factor or something in one battle. It was fun. Right now, I have him, by the way, as Raider, just because I'm using him in Cosmic with the Dad Bros. In my second run, DD5 run, I used to have him as Fortifier for a period of time because he was small. I'm not sure what the best ISO is for him, and that potentially depends on the team you're using him in. But he's a fantastic character, no doubt about that. Okay, So now let's get back to this list here for a minute. I don't know whether Weapon X can solo Dormammu team. Depends on the team, I suppose. But they basically beat everything else. This is definitely a team that is in its own tier. People have been asking me, by the way, about a Weapon X infographic. Yes, that is something that is in the cards. This is what my team looks like right now. I will, however, definitely get an infographic out soon. It is just that and a DD5 infographic are on my to-do list, but I'm catching up on videos like this one. All right, let's go now to the next tier. There's definitely a drop between tier 1 and tier 2, but the next best team is Infinity Watch. It's definitely a tier down because against, let's say, Heroes for Hire, my Infinity Watch is generally going to win, on a punch across or a slight punch up or whatever, but it's not like a trivial battle like it is with Weapon X. But Weapon X, I can punch up big, although my Weapon X is big enough I don't punch up that much on anything, but it's big enough. You can punch up, and I'm sure you've seen the videos of that. But Infinity Watch takes out almost everything else. And this has really changed up War. So right now, I would say the meta is very offense-focused in War. Weapon X totally flipped things. So before Weapon X came to the game, it was almost impossible for other alliances to clear us. Other than, Legion could, but like even the number 3 alliance was having trouble clearing us. They failed on some occasions. That was because the meta was so focused on defense, because you had Heroes for Hire. The only team that could even possibly one-shot it was Infinity Watch, and it was a dicey proposition. Once Weapon X came, you use Weapon X on the on the Heroes for Hire, and then you have Infinity Watch just hanging around to use anywhere, right? You could use them on any other team. So, that is a huge boost that suddenly whenever you face a tough team that you have trouble beating otherwise, you just use Infinity Watch, okay? Now, that is just the reality. It's a very offensive meta. And here's another thing. The Eternals came, and even though this isn't Arena, even without Arena, they're super powerful. And so you can use the Eternals plus 3 other characters to beat Infinity Watch if it's on defense. You could use the Eternals to beat the Eternals, right? You just throw in Loki and Cable or Emma Frost or whatever to go a little faster, just like you do in Arena, and you just beat their Eternals with your Eternals. Eternals are a team that can beat almost anything too. So you almost have, even though they're a 2-person team, so you almost have 2 teams that just beat everything. Now, you may say, well, wait, why do you have Infinity Watch above Eternals? It's very close. But what I'll say is that the Eternals are, they are, to me, they're only 2 characters. And so you kind of have to strip other stuff. So how good they are, whether they could be better than Infinity Watch if you're running them with 3 amazing characters. If you're running them with, characters like Loki and Cable and so forth, they're below Infinity Watch, but they're still really awesome. Now, this, I'll bold Kestrel. This document, by the way, is linked below, and it is also always linked on my Discord, okay, my War Offense tier list. I try to keep this up to date. Secret Avengers with Kestrel are very, very powerful. This remains a very powerful team. So this team I don't even use anymore. This is that old Heroes for Hire counter. But this team here, and you could throw in, if you put Kestrel here, the team becomes way more powerful. And I'm sure you've seen this like in raids or in other contexts where you're getting all this defense down out there, and this team is sort of built to synergize with Kestrel, and Kestrel's got all the pings, and you've got all the summons from Maria Hill, and you've got the summons from Fury, and it's just a fantastic team. You can use Namor instead, particularly if it's a team that punishes summons. So if you're going up against a Death Pool or Axemen or something, you could do that, or just not use the summon abilities. Use the Nick Fury special and so forth. But nonetheless, very powerful team. And you may say, well, wait, Philosopher, why are you putting it on this tier? Eternals are really good. Infinity Watch are really good. I think with Kestrel, this team is very good. Without Kestrel, not as much. Kestrel's kind of a floater character you could put in a number of teams. You could throw her in with X Factor. You could throw her in with the Eternals. You could throw her with a number of teams, and she's going to do very well. This happens to be, a very good spot for her. Okay, and so that is why I am highlighting this team in particular. I have taken off some teams from this list that just aren't used anymore. Okay, because that I just see that I think because of how the game's developed, they're no longer important. One team that you may be surprised to see this high is Shadowland. Shadowland is really, really good. In fact, it's gotten more important. And here's why. Why has it gotten more important? Well, a couple things. First of all, when Hanger is up, and when I say Hanger is up, why does that matter? Well, when Hanger's up, you get Deflect. You start with Deflect. All attacking teams do. And then that means if this character has Deflect, if Moon Knight has Deflect, he gets 20% speed bar, so he goes super fast, and then he could debuff the enemy team. This team, the Shadowland team, is so good when Anger is up. They can outspeed a lot of the newest meta teams. The new OP characters, all the power leap, power creep, whatever you want to call it, can be outdone by Shadowlands for now. That'll change over time. But for right now, this team, when it's big, it's got to be very big. But when it's big and has all the T4s, it's a T4 dependent team. I have a Shadowland team building guide on my Discord that you can find the infographic there in terms of what T4s. But this team is very, very good. And, I've built up my Shadowland large. I think I have one of the smaller ones in my alliance. And there are people who've really built these things out, and it definitely is still very good in war. Now, is this a team you want to invest in for the long run? Well, it's an older team now. This team's been out several months, so I can't recommend it as a long-term investment. But for right now in war, if you are serious about Alliance War, and it's, that is a lower reward part of the game, but it's probably the most fun mode, at least for a lot of people. If you're really into war, this is a team you're going to have built. And frankly, I think if you don't have Omega Red, I think this team can outperform the Weapon X without Omega Red, okay, if you don't have the Legendary. All right? Next one on this list, Secret Avengers without Kestrel. So there's certain teams that you can beat it with Secret Avengers without Kestrel, and there's certain teams that you need Kestrel. So, for example, you can easily beat Black Order with Secret Avengers without Kestrel. You don't need to waste Kestrel on that team. But there's some teams that you really need to use Kestrel. So, for example, Mercs, people are now throwing up, and you'll see that in the war defense tier list, Mercs with Doom. If you're facing Mercs and Doom, Kestrel that team can be beat with Secret Avengers, but you really want Kestrel to prevent the Doom bots from summoning. There's also certain other teams, like, people will sometimes use, like, Axe Canny, the Axemen plus Uncanny team. Well, sometimes you can beat that team with Secret Avengers plus Kestrel. You have to be very careful not to throw out your summons and have them get killed and feed speed bar to the Axemen, but the Kestrel plays an important role against teams that rely on Phoenix, teams that rely on summons and things like that in particular. And then she just provides a lot of oomph against all teams. So this is where Weapon X are without Omega Red. Now, I can feel pretty confident about this because I used this team without Omega Red before he came out, before he was released. And I've left this here because I know a lot of you haven't unlocked the Legendary. It's a good team. It does take on a lot of stuff, but it's limited. I mean, it's not going to take out the super high defenses that Weapon X does with Omega Red. In other words, don't expect Weapon X without Omega Red to just take down these massive heroes for higher teams or Infinity Watch or whatever. Omega Red does a lot of the work on that team. All right, now, New Warriors. New Warriors plus a 4th and 5th. That's not Kestrel. Are right about here. Now, I just don't see people running New Warriors with Kestrel enough to include her here. In other words, I just don't see the synergy there. So usually people are either running New Warriors on defense and I see them probably more on defense right now, but you can bring them on offense, and they're very good against certain teams. And generally it's really going to be your fourth or fifth. You want to have a character that can prevent a cleanser from cleansing, and as long as you can do that, well, then the other team's in trouble because they're going to get cloaked and debuffed very quickly. I also see this sometimes team broken up. Sometimes people throw Death Pool with like Black Order, with Brotherhood on defense, and then they'll just use Cloak and Dagger on offense. X Factor are still here, but I would say this is a team that's on the decline. X Factor were super, super important for quite a long time as the team that you used to counter Doom, the good Doom teams. So they could counter Uncanny Doom, they could counter Brotherhood Doom. Now we're seeing people either do things, I'm seeing people do things like Mercs with Doom, Eternals with Doom, stuff like that. If you're seeing teams like that, X Factor can't handle them. And then the question is, well, what do you use X Factor for? And so if X Factor doesn't beat the Doom teams, it's not clear to me how special the team is anymore. They're very good. They beat a lot of stuff, but they don't have that out of the gate speed that Shadowland has. So they start struggling a little bit against new meta that goes very, very quickly. Okay? Now, let's go down to tier 4. So that, and by the way, just so we're clear, you could see here, people often ask me what the fifth could be. Here's some examples. I mean, against a team like, Emma Rodders, you could just use Squirrel Girl. She's actually probably the best choice because right after Emma puts the slows, then Squirrel Girl cleanses them. But, Namor is very good against some teams like Uncanny Doom. Against Brotherhood Doom, you use Rhino. Falcon works. Any team that gets them any character that helps speed them up can and give them a good start in the beginning, like Falcon or Namor can be great because give them a head start because the X Factor takes a little time to get going. Now we got a tier down here, a tier 4. And Black Order is right here on this list. And I will tell you, Black Order, when I look at my teams here, here's my X Factor team. Do I have Black Order? I actually have been throwing it on defense. So here you go. But, sometimes I have them on off. A lot of people use them on offense. They're very good against Uncanny, for example. But this is not a special team anymore. As you could tell, I really kind of stopped investing in the team. I did put Blue ISO on a few of them, but I get a lot of Blue ISO. We've been raiding Doom raids for quite a long time at this point. But, they're just not an important team right now. They're just not an important team, but they are useful. They are a staple team. They beat a lot of stuff. And you may find at your level in war that, well, everyone's got a big Black Order because it used to be their arena team, and so that gives them an outsized importance. I mean, I hear from people sometimes saying in their level of war, Axemen are super important because everyone has big ones for raid or something. But if you have everything at equal size or relatively equal size, Black Order are just another team at this point. That's sort of how I view them there. Particularly good against Uncanny because of the Ebony Maw passive that gives you a barrier and immunity when you kill a hero controller. They can also be good against Axemen, some other teams. Speaking of the Axemen, they're down here on War Offense. And this is one of the teams that I'm really starting to see hybridized. In other words, Axemen, sometimes people throw them with Uncanny. Sometimes people put them on defense. I still see people sometimes take the big 3 of Bishop, Beast, and Jubilee, put them with a couple other characters. If you have a lot of teams built, this is a team you can hybridize. It's just not that important in war. It may be important for you at your level if you have massive Axemen, but any team, if you build it twice as big as every other team, is going to be good. But if you have every team built out, it's just not that important. A lot of people don't run it on offense anymore. I do think there is a value in having symbiotes or Axemen on offense so that this way, when there's a team that has summons, you can get the, some advantage from that because both of those teams, get speed bar from summons, but, it's just not an important team. The teams that it really does well against that rely on summons usually aren't on defense. So, most people, at least at my level, aren't going to run Secret Avengers on defense because they'll get eaten alive by Axemen or symbiotes. Similarly, Sinister Six is kind of fallen off. So don't really see, this team being as good as they once were. They're just an okay-ish offense team. All right, this team I have here right now. This is all for people this is maybe a team I should delete soon. I'll probably delete it next month. Uncanny X-Men with Ultron or Beast. In other words, this is like X-Tron, or if you if you want to use Beast here, like you don't have your X-Men built up. I just feel like most players nowadays have X-Men built up, bigger than Uncanny. But there was a period of time when people didn't, or if you're a newer player, you don't have Jubilee yet. This is sort of what you could do. X-Men Uncanny's much better with Beast, way better, and they're pretty good with Ultron. Ultron and Beast do some things. They give buffs to Phoenix, which make her a lot more powerful. Okay, offensive speed up, whatever. All right, Hydra 3.0. This team is very useful against Ultimus Mercs, which you may see in war. I'm starting to see more hybrids with Mercs, but people are throwing things like Doom or Surfer or whatever. But if you are just seeing Mercs, just straight Merc team, Hydra 3.0, which is Baron, Zemo, Red Skull, Grenadier. Those are the key ones. Grenadier must be the highest damage. 100% must be the highest damage because that's the way this works. In other words, Grenadier is the highest damage. Then Taskmaster will put a taunt on him. And then the Mercs will spend all their time killing him. And then Red Skull will res him because he's a minion, Hydra minion. And then you just use whatever, Winter Soldier, Hydra Sniper, or whatever. And then you can use Drax if it's Shuri Mercs. Or you can use another minion or whatever. Okay, you just use Hydra there. Hell Hydra, this is an old team. But I don't see why it wouldn't be effective where you just take Hela and Zemo. Zemo gets the ability block. Hela spreads it. And you still have Grenadier and Zemo to do that piece of it. I don't see it used much anymore because the teams are small. The teams as beats like Marauders. They are not as important, and you use Hela elsewhere or something like that. Skill Military is a team that I moved way down. This used to be very important because this was a key team to this is a key team that was needed to counter the Merc teams, particularly so Shuri Mercs. Whenever you face Mercs, this was a key counter. But unfortunately, now that people have moved to Ultimus Mercs. This team gets rolled because Red Guardian is rolled by Ultimus. Ultimus, what happens is if you go here, if you go here, and I'm recording. I apologize for all the things. I'm gonna finish this video up soon, and I will talk to folks in my chat. I just got a raid in my chat here. But if you look at this video, if you look at the Ultimus character. On enemy taunt, he gets lots of speed bar. So he can get speed bar, and then he can just absolutely destroy a character that has taunt, okay? But, he can just, particularly a character that has a lot of positive text like Red Guardian. So that is why this team is not as useful anymore. You are seeing a lot of Ultimus Mercs out there, and Skill Military, if it's not going to kill the Mercs, it's like, well, what does it attack? You really want a villain team because a villain team is going to get extra damage from Punisher. So if you go and look at Punisher here, we can go to my go to the game. Whoa, we're in the game. If we go to Punisher here, you'll see he gets a lot of bonus damage against villains. And so, this is a team that does well against like Marauders and Sinister Six, but those just aren't important teams anymore. And so this is a team that is definitely on the way down. Skill Military, don't really see this anymore. And then we have our Tier 5 teams. And these teams are kind of like oldie but goodies that have fallen off much more quickly because of what I call the Great Reset, the massive power leap we've had this year over the last 4 to 6 months. And so, X-Force is a team that used to be super fast out of the gate. The reason they're falling off is that the way this team works is that Negasonic has to get a character under 50%, which feeds extra turn meter to X23, and it's just harder for them to do it. Their damage isn't special. Sinister 6 gets a lot of war bonuses, but just not what they used to be. And Brotherhood 2.0, that's what Toad and Blob, they fall off quite a bit. They're good if you're facing a lot of symbiotes on the other team. So if you're facing symbiotes on defense, that they can be good for that. But really, other than symbiotes, Pimtech and Technerva, they don't really kill much. Uncanny X-Men, this will change next month with Magic, but for right now, a team I don't see much on offense at all. And then you have teams like Fantastic Four plus Ultron and Hella Natural. I admit I use these teams sometimes now that we have to use 11 teams on offense instead of 8, instead of 9 now that they have those extra slots. But these teams are just sort of filler. I'll tell you, they're just okay. And I keep these old teams on here because some of you guys ask me who are at different levels of war. If you have a smaller roster, if you're an old, if you don't have some of the new characters, you can use some of these old teams. I don't advise it. There's AIM all the way down there. These are teams that I would not invest in at all at this point. These are all teams that are totally power crept. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed this. I will be updating this list, once again later this month. And check out tomorrow. Later today we will have my war defense team tier list as well. If you like this video, smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. You can leave your comments, questions below, or go to my Discord. That's linked below. You can also go to my Twitch stream. That is linked below as well.